everybody, this is Tony.
And this is Paul. We're coming at you from the Friends for Life podcast, where we discuss the ongoing lives and issues of people with developmental disabilities to spark positive change in the field.
And we have a lot of fun doing it.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Friends for Life podcast. Thanks for tuning back in. Today, we'd like to welcome to the show Emily Martinez, and she's the Director of Community Services at Mahoning County Board of Developmental Disabilities. Emily, welcome. How are you doing today?
Woo.
I'm good. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're doing fantastic. And, Friends for Life, we're all about talking about disabilities, the disability field. And, we're very excited to have you on. Tony has talked very highly about your presentation and trainings and stuff like that. So welcome. And before we get into maybe some of the more, interesting topics, how did you get into this field of work? Because everybody seems to have a different story that we've talked to so far.
Sure. Well, thanks so much for having me. I actually really have been in the field for my whole entire life. Both of my parents worked actually here in Mahoning County at the Developmental Disabilities Board. And so I grew up in Mahoning County, which is Youngstown. We moved around quite a bit, but I lived my whole life in Youngstown. And so at a very young age, I participated at our school, Leonard Kurt School, and was around people with developmental disabilities. And I loved it. When I was younger, I used to volunteer in early intervention, and then I would volunteer at the school. And then when I got older and could get a job, I worked at the school summer camp. And that, it just was my passion, helping people. And then I went to college and just decided to make it my career. And when I graduated, I went directly into being a case manager for people with developmental disabilities.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. So yeah, that's seems to be a pretty common path. And do you have any maybe recommendations for people who are wanting to get into this field? I mean, it's very, from what we see, it's like it's either people come in and they're in for a short time and they leave, and then there's people who like you who've been here for your whole life. So do you have any kind of
you lifers?
Yeah, lifer guiding principles for people who want to make it in the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I think to me, I'm a little biased, but to me, it's just the greatest field there is, because for me, I love helping people. It just gives you a feeling like no other. And when you can make helping people your job, it's not a job, right? Because you love what you do so much. And I think that the developmental disabilities field is very open. We hire people with tons of different backgrounds. Don't think I have to go to college and get a social work degree, or I have to go to college and get a degree in psychology or sociology. We have lots of people with degrees in education. We need nurses to help our individuals that have medical issues. We need people with communications degrees to help us do communication and public relations with our community. We need lots of different people with lots of different backgrounds to develop this amazing community that we have. And right now, especially, we really need more staff, not just for our providers in the community, but also for our county boards. Mm-hmm. So I would recommend this field to anyone. And I would say it's an amazing and really rewarding field to work in.
Yeah, and that's one of the words that you said that's very important, that, for any field in general, but especially this, is community. It's definitely a large community, and it's a growing community, and everybody, needs to kind of like be on the same page and work together. And I think it's really important. So do you have any like interesting stories through your career of maybe like, working with people and success stories? Because one of Tony's big things is, helping people be more independent instead of always, doing stuff for them, which I think a lot of people outside of the disabilities field think is what you do here, is help people and do stuff for them. Whereas Friends for Life, Tony's working to make people more independent, which is a goal. So do you have any success stories of that nature?
Sure. I have so many. So I'll tell you one that we have recently that is just, we're really excited about. So in our community, every day we see hiring signs, right? Everybody needs people really badly. So we recently developed a new position that is specific to employment. So one of our case managers, or SSAs as we call them, is an employment navigator. And so she's been working with local vendors and community agencies to try to educate people about hiring people with disabilities. And so D&D, which is a company in our community, they do a lot of the laundry for like our local nursing homes. Mm-hmm. They really, really needed people. And we were able to get a spot on WKBN, just a local affiliate, where there was a news story about, employment for people with disabilities. And so this company, D&D, contacted us and said, hey, I need people. And so we were able to, one of our local providers said, hey, I can do this. I'm going to make a group employment, and we'll have these 4 individuals that really want to work, that are trying to find jobs in the community, but they need a little extra help, right? They need a staff with them. And so they all got jobs at D&D, making good money, doing laundry, and really nice success story. One of the ladies that works there made enough money that she was able to save it and buy herself like a designer purse, like first ever designer purse. And our local media actually came out to D&D, and she like busted out the purse and was like, here it is. It was a really nice purse. And it was just really nice. And the owner of the company actually said, it helped me, but he was really shocked. He said, it helped my fellow employees, like the individuals with developmental disabilities. They come in on time. They're here every day. They push my other workers, like, come on, make sure you're on time, make sure you're doing a good job. And that they just raised the morale of the whole place. It was a really heartwarming story. And I think it just shows people that, someone with a disability, they want to work too. They want to participate and belong in their community like everyone else.
Yeah, that's human nature. I mean, everybody wants to be in a group and fit in. And, we notice a lot of times that people that don't know somebody with a disability, or don't have, somebody immediately in their lives that has a disability of any sort, they kind of don't know how to interact with people with disabilities. And we're always saying, just treat them like a person, like you would treat any person, which is, I think, can be, challenging for some people. But do you agree with that? Does that kind of ring a bell with you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I think people with disabilities want to be treated just like everyone else. And I think you're absolutely right. Lots of people in the community are kind of hesitant, not sure of what to do. But, everybody wants to be treated equally. And I think that's really important, especially for our individuals that have developmental disabilities. To participate in your community, you want to be an equal, active member of your community.
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what we're pushing for. That's why we started this podcast, is to just bring some exposure to this. What I always say, because, I did not come from the disabilities background at all. A lot of my family did. They all have worked in this field in one way or another. But, it's really interesting to have an outside perspective on all of this. Not so much anymore. I've been working here for a while. So it's really cool to see such a great community. And, when Tony was talking, he's talking about these trainings and presentations you gave, and I'll let Tony kind of go a little more down that path, because I wasn't there. But
it was for anyone who's listened to us or watched us for an amount of time, understands that we have there's like a hierarchy in the field, and with that, our SSAs in the state of Ohio, they're called different things nationwide, but you hit the nail on the head with a discussion that you were having that basically was saying, hey, SSAs need to open up and listen a little more. Can you elaborate more on how that discussion has been for not only you guys, but for the agencies that surround you?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So right now, I think we're in uncharted territory. SSAs have historically been taught, you don't do direct care, right? Yeah. You're like a neutral entity. You're supposed to be coordinating services. Mm-hmm. And to me, I feel like there's often a lot of bureaucracy involved. We have procedures, we have policies. This is the way we've always done things. And while I agree, all agencies, you have to have boundaries, you have to have policies and procedures. But I also think it's really important to be flexible. And I think right here, right now, we're in a crisis. There's not enough direct care staff. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. And so we have to be flexible, and the SSAs have to be open to doing things that they've not done before. Because at the end of the day, what's most important is our individuals, their safety, their ability to engage in their community, their ability to feel safe and get the services that they need and continue to prosper. So, the conversation is ongoing with us, but a lot of the conversation stems directly from my staff, who are amazing, and will, come back from a home visit and say, instead of, oh, I went to this home visit and it was not good. Instead, they're saying, this provider needs help and I'm going to help them, or we need to help them. Here's some things that I thought of. And they're changing the way that they think about things and trying to take a more supportive role, because at the end of the day, when we provide that support, we see those successes and our individuals thrive. And I think that's important at all times. But right now, we're in a place we've never been before. So we have to be open and flexible, and we have to help each other, or we're not going to make it through this.
Yeah, that's very important. It's one of those things. It's kind of like, where did this attitude of like helping people get lost? Because I feel like no matter what industry we're in nowadays, it's very much centered on, me and my well-being and this and that, which, you have to take care of yourself as well. But I see a lot in a lot of different facets of society is just, there's just this weird thing where nobody wants to help anybody anymore. And we need to get back to that, because like you said, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Things aren't the same as they were 2 years ago, let alone 5 years ago, 10 years ago. And, that attitude of helping is really something that needs to be talked about more. And, I hear a lot of that's not my job kind of thing. Well, it's like taking care of people is all of our job. Like, that's what we do as people. That's what we do. People have children, people have families, they take care of each other. And that's just being nice to people, whether, you're getting paid a little extra or not. Like, these are unprecedented times, and people need the extra care. Like, they're not any less in need because of the pandemic and they can't get any workers. It's all the same. So
how is there's so many different phrases now: staffing crisis, staffing emergency, the employment crisis emergency, and all of that. In your county, are you guys noticing anything, a trend of more positive, or is it still kind of on the same level?
So it's a great question. And unfortunately, for us here in our area, it's a really, really big issue for us. Daily, we have individuals that don't have staff. We have providers that CEOs are working shifts, they're nurses, they're program managers, and they're struggling to get new staff in the door. And they're also having their staff work a lot of extra shifts. And so I would say that, that is difficult. It's daily. But I would say I'm a positive person, so always try to have a positive spin. I would say that because of the crisis, it has brought our Mahoning County Board staff closer with our providers, because it's not their problem. It's everyone's problem. And we are a family. And I think that's really important. So if you don't have a staff and you can't find one, my providers know, call your SSA, call provider relations. They'll call me directly. They'll call a supervisor, whomever. And they're not getting, the answer of, well, hey, that's really on you. No, they're getting the answer of, okay, let's figure this out. We have a process that we follow. And at the end of the day, nobody goes without service here. We're able to fill every single shift. And sometimes that means, like I had an SSA the other day, she called over 100. Yes, 100 people within a 3-hour period to try to fill a shift. And like at the very end of it, one of the providers that she had like initially called that couldn't do it, ended up finding somebody and calling her back and saying, well, now I can do it. I figured it out. And you know why? Because we're helping each other. That provider didn't just say, oh, I don't have anybody. They continued to look, and then they were able to, pull in and help. We have several like congregate settings where the main provider doesn't have enough staff. So we have like 6 or 7 independent providers that are filling in the shifts, and they're all working together under the coordination of the SSA. And typically that's not something an SSA would do. That's not my answer. That's never my answer. You're going to do whatever is needed to make sure that people are safe. We have several situations where families are actually working shifts as a natural support. And so that has been really helpful. And I think at the end of the day, although it is a struggle, we're making it through, and we're making it through because we're a family.
Yeah. And, it's interesting that you say what you said about the families, because I'm actually going to be doing a small presentation for the next Velcro Coalition. And it's in regards to the difficult conversations that we're having with these families nowadays that, we don't have anybody. You have families and stuff who are used to getting 24-hour service, maybe in their own home, or even up to 10 hours. And nowadays finding someone to do that is, I don't know. I don't want to say a joke, but it's just not the reality anymore. So with that, I'm sure I'm a big, huge, loving advocate for remote supports. I'm sure you guys have seen an uptick in remote supports. How is that looking?
Yeah, so great topic. So we actually just developed a whole new process for our remote supports that we started about 4 months ago. And so we had a process, and we started meeting with our guardians and with APSE, Advocacy and Protective Services, just to make sure guardians understood what was going on and were kind of on the same page about technology and educated them on technology. We then started meeting with our providers to talk about technology, see if any of them wanted to become technology vendors, and then started talking with them about focusing on people that they felt could be grouped together and use technology versus staff. Our providers really listened to that and did work with teams and move some people around so that people that need the same type of service could live together and share either a staff or over here share remote supports. And then the last thing that we did, which was the absolute most successful, and I would recommend any county do, is that I took a couple of staff SSAs that are really into technology. They're my transition SSAs that work with youth 14 to 21. And I had them go through specialized training through RESNA and Ocali and get certified as technology experts. And so they are able to come in and assess people on technology, talk with the team about technology, give them advice and guidance, and even help the SSA, because sometimes the SSA becomes the barrier because they're nervous about it and they're not really sure. And so having this tech expert that's a county board employee, like within 90 days of starting it, we had 15 people start using remote supports.
Nice.
All of which were because of the tech expert process. So that has been extremely successful. Just having someone here that's specially trained, that is their primary focus. And they stay along with the team, help it all get set up. And then they even like midway point through the year, they assess again, how are things going? Do you like it? Do you want to add more technology? And they do both the remote supports and the assistive tech. And it has been very successful to us and has helped a lot of our providers be able to have, these 4 folks share technology. So the staff that used to work there can now work here. And now I have left shifts that I have to cover. So I think it's extremely helpful. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people sometimes have, behavioral issues and, this issue and that issue. And a lot of times we've seen when we put in the technology, it's not there anymore. They just didn't really want to be around people all the time. And I think everyone has those times, right? And we don't think about that. We think about helping someone and it has to be person to person. But technology is really useful and helps people build independence.
Yeah. And, what ways, because the pandemic, may really shifted the way a lot of people have to do things, and it made a lot of people think on their feet and try new things that maybe would have never changed or been thought of before. So what kind of adaptations have you seen in your area that are kind of different or kind of revolutionizing the way you take care of people? Because as we'll look back on this someday, I'm sure, and be like, wow, a lot of things happened that maybe wouldn't have happened without having a pandemic. It's one of those blessing and curse kind of things, in a way. It's always bad when there's a pandemic, obviously, but what kind of adaptations have you seen for the positive come out of this?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think we've seen a lot of really great things come out of the need to communicate with each other effectively without being in person. And so I would say, for us, we use Zoom, but we know lots of other people use like Google Meet and Microsoft Teams and things like that. So we were able to use CARES Act money and buy several iPads and then also jetpacks, which can give people internet. And so I think by having those and lending, perfect. And by lending those out to individuals and provider staff, I think we saw a lot of success with people learning how to use technology and become more independent. People learn lots of new ways to be able to communicate. During the pandemic, a lot of people didn't get to visit with family, so they could visit with family that way in a safe manner. We developed this whole Here For You Now series where we had staff make Zoom videos of different activities for people to do at home, but that were fun and exciting, but that they could do on Zoom to try to help people be engaged. So I think, for one, people learn new ways to communicate in a fun and effective way. I think for us, remote supports has been huge. Those people that have been able to have the remote supports where, I can be alone, but I can press this button and someone's going to come up on my screen and help and assist me, has been a huge success, for many people. We also have a lot of people that use the fobs that you wear around your neck and you click in case of an emergency. We have a couple people that have them and they're on the wall. That has helped a lot of people. I think especially people that maybe want to be alone, but maybe there's some family concern about, well, what if there's an emergency, So those types of technology have been really helpful to people. And we just had a young lady who has a very bad vision impairment. And she got the glasses with the Ahmed on the side that it reads for you.
Wow.
Amazing. Just amazing to see wow. Just that even her parents oh my gosh, she's reading. This is amazing. Just with that one, little piece of technology equipment, it changes someone's life. I mean, it literally changes someone's life. So those are the things I think that through the pandemic, we've been able to focus more on and see those successes in helping people, live better lives through that technology.
I got a question because especially with the technology and stuff, and I know nobody has a crystal ball to actually read the future except Miss Cleo. I think she used to back in the day. Calling me now. No. But if with us going through the difficulties that we're going through with staffing, remote supports, if all of that fails, do you see the field going back to more ICFs and, settings of, large groups of people? And for any listener who is not familiar with an ICF, it's an intermittent care facility. There's great ICFs around, but the thought process was always to try to put our individuals that we care for in quote unquote normal residential settings. But do you think that that's going to be a comeback, or is it going to be a growing area?
I do. I mean, I really do. And I think that's something that our providers have talked a lot about, that, now we have this model where lots of people live in the community, and we still have some people that live in ICFs, which is a great option for people. And we have lots of ICFs that are in the community that you would never know it's an ICF. It's just like a regular home in the community, right? And that's what we want. But I do think that there is concern statewide that we may be taking steps back simply because there just aren't enough people to be able to provide all of the services in settings where the ratios are 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 versus in the past it might be 2-to-15 or 2-to-16. And so I think it's a great question, and I think it's on a lot of people's minds. I think that ICFs play a huge role in what we do, and they're a great model and they're a great option for lots of people. And so I think that we can hopefully continue to have, both models, but I think there does need to be more discussion about the ability to serve more people together with less staff so that we can conserve those staff that we do have. Because I do think that for everything we're trying, for everything that we're doing, it still just doesn't seem like there's enough people to fill all of the direct care roles.
What do you think some things that maybe people as a whole, not only in the state of Ohio, but in the entire United States can do to maybe push to get more staff? Because, that it's not only in this field, it's everywhere. But what changes need to take place to make this more of a desired position? I'm not sure what the correct terminology would be, but I mean, it's hard to get people, to keep people, to do anything right now. So what kind of changes need to be made? Because it's all funded by the government essentially. And how do we go about, getting this to entice more people to come and work in the field?
Yeah. I think that it's not just one solution. I think that it's a package of potential solutions. And I think for starters, it's the rate. We are coming upon a rate increase, which I think is great, and we are so appreciative. But I still feel like a higher rate would bring in more people. I also think that there's some things just fundamentally that if we changed would help. First and foremost, I think that we advertise direct care professionals as a career. And I think most people think of as a career as a job that has a higher pay than what we currently are able to pay our direct support professionals. I also think that when you think career, you think of benefits. I'm going to be able to have a 401k or a retirement, and I'm going to be able to have good health benefits. And that's a struggle, which leads back to the rate. So I think that making those fundamental change, if we want people to come into this field and make it a career, would help. I also think that if we want people to just come into the field and use being direct care, as a couple of years as a stepping stone to a career where you do get benefits and things like that, then we need to kind of change our advertising and our marketing. And we need to reach out to that specific demographic of people that are looking for employment, while they're going to college or while they're, doing this or doing that. And I think we need to look at things differently so that we can really market the position better. I think the name direct care professional, when we kind of changed that, I think it was a great idea with the best of intentions. But I think when people think direct care professional, it's pushing out a large group of people that are thinking direct care professional. What's that? Or professional. I need a degree, or I need this, or I need that. And I was recently at the Ohio Association of County Boards conferences, and I heard a media company say, just call it a caretaker. Everybody knows what a caretaker is. And people see caretaker and say, that's me. I love taking care of people. And I thought, what a great idea, that is, something to think about. I also think that when you're a direct care professional or a caretaker, it is so much responsibility. I mean, you're alone, sometimes with several people that may have medical issues and behavioral issues. They need your constant attention. And, you're passing medications, you're, cleaning, you're cooking, you're taking care of maybe 4 or 5 individuals at one time, potentially by yourself. And then you have, okay, I don't want to make any mistakes because I don't want to have an MUI, right?
Yeah.
I don't want there to be an incident. And I think there needs to be some fundamental changes around that so that people feel more comfortable coming into and then staying in the field. I think it's essential that we keep our individuals safe. And I think MUI and UI and those things are needed. But I think we need to have some more flexibility and things be a bit more positive and supportive of our direct care staff.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting that you say that because I've took it on the conversation with young folks lately, especially in the last year or so. We've been meeting with a lot of schools. And just this morning, I met with some young students, and it was roughly 5 of them, and just asking them a real question in like, how much do you expect to get paid after, you graduate high school and everything? I got people saying 100K, 95K, 80K, 70K. There was only one person who said they had no idea. And I think that was probably the most realistic answer. But it's like our field of work can't compete with this. Jason, with Sunshine up here, he has a very interesting take on this, and he's very vocal about it. And I'm very proud that he vocalizes it the way that he does, because he was saying, like, we had an opportunity to kind of squeeze that gap, but we didn't do it. And now, we'll have to go 300-400% in increases just to be able to have that competitive relationship with McDonald's, for God's sakes.
Right.
So I say all of that to say, I think what we're doing to talk to these kids sooner is much better, because we can put that out there that this doesn't have to be your total career. It can be a stepping stone, and you also can do something very, dialed in. What we do here, Paul had never, I'm sure, thought that he would be in the DD field to do what we do now. But with all that being said, do you see us ever getting to those kind of wages other than like a CEO or high director? I mean, even directors don't even make some of these expectations.
Yeah, I think you're so spot on with that. I don't know that we'll ever get to those high of rates because the model doesn't support it. And there's not that type of money from Medicaid to be able to do it. I think certainly we can get the rate higher. Yeah. I think we can get it higher. I really do. But I also think that just like what you said, we have to get to these kids younger. And we have to give them realistic expectations, and we have to connect with people in our community better to share with them the benefits of being a direct care staff. And I think that we need to provide more support and help. To me, I always think, if there's a direct care staff that maybe is struggling, and they need some help, and they're going to leave their job because they can't find childcare. Okay. Right. Well, maybe it's not your job to help them, but you know what? Yeah, it kind of is. Yeah. Because if they don't have any childcare and they can't bring their kids to work, then they're going to quit and they're going to leave. Right. And so we started this ERN here in Mahoning. We share it with Trumbull, and we have life coaches. It just started not too long ago, and it seems like it's going well, but that's exactly what it is.
Here
direct care
County,
staff need help.
I have ERN as well.
And I do think we need to do that. And I totally agree that we need to meet with our kids younger. My son was telling my husband the other day, my husband's very practical about everything. He grew up in Honduras and came to America. And he's like, what are you going to be when you grow up? I need to know now, And my son says, I'm going to be a YouTuber.
Oh,
I'm going to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And my husband no, my husband said, no. You can pick, you can be an engineer, you could be a teacher or a policeman. Which one?
There you go.
Those are the only options that he gave him. And it's like my husband said, that's not realistic, but it's a different generation. And so we need to change our mind frame to kind of keep up with that, give them realistic expectations. But at the same time, we need to be a little bit more flexible, because these new youth coming into our system that want a job, they want different things than what we're used to providing. You know, they want to be able to work from home, and they want to be able to dress down, and they want to be able to have flexibility or make their own hours. And I think so we need to kind of find a happy medium there, right? Yeah. You know, educate more, provide them with more support, but then also at the same time be a bit more flexible.
Definitely. Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm no longer looking for full-time people, really. I'm just looking for a whole lot of part-time people. Like, if you can give me a every other weekend and a couple of days a week every now and again, you're good in my book.
Well, and yeah, you really hit the nail on the head with the younger generation, you know, because I'm somewhere in the middle of, like, the teenagers of now, and then, you know, like my parents, like I'm right in the middle of all that and watching the technological changes. And, you know, there are people that make, you know, more money than I can even fathom just making YouTube videos once a week or twice a week. And, you know, that's a thing kids want to do when they grow up. I mean, it's not an easy path. It's just like, it's no different than when I was a kid, everybody wanted to be in a famous rock band. Like, it's still really hard, but I guess you could do it if you work really hard at it. And, you know, that's really important that people are starting to see that mindset change, because I notice a lot of kids that are, I have cousins, for example, they're like go into these job interviews and they're like, oh yeah, here's my resume, this and that. And then they'll like come in, they're like, oh yeah, well you can start the job. And they're like, oh yeah, well, we're going to pay you $9. And they're like, but the paper said 12. They said, well, it could be 12. And they're like, okay, see ya. And they just walk out. And it's like, you know, when I remember growing up, it was like, you apply for a job. If you get the job, you take the job. That was like how it was. I just like, oh, cool. They called me back. It's the only one. Cool. I guess I'm working at this landscaping place now. Like, that's how, and it's so different. And I see family members do it all the time. My cousin had a job interview and they did exactly that. They're like, well, you're going to start here. And she's like, no, I'm not. Bye. And so the expectation you change, and jobs like what I do with media and stuff, it's a real thing nowadays. And Tony and I are always talking about, we hope more agencies and you know, county boards and things like that could start doing this stuff, because we can have these conversations openly all the time, put them out there for people to hear, and they can take away from that what they want, you know, and it's something you can listen to in the car on your way to work. They're short, relatively, half hour, 40 minutes or so, and you know, people in the field have the knowledge and the skill, and we all are having this open conversation. So, you know, we're glad that people are coming and talk to us, and we are able to disseminate this information out to the world. But, you know, I think this is a point in the show that we didn't warn you about, because it's our favorite secret part of the show.
And you should have been watching our show anyway. But if not, rapid fire. All right. The point of rapid fire is that I'm going to ask you 3 questions. They're set in a what would you rather do kind of scenario. I can never say that right.
He's like we're 60 episodes deep and he messes that up every time.
Every time.
It's a game show.
Yeah, basically. Well, answer as quick as you can, as truthful as you can. It'll be fun. All right, you ready? All right. Would you rather show all the contents in your purse or your medicine cabinet?
My medicine cabinet.
Okay. You know, you might find a mouse in my wife's purse.
Like, you never know. When you got 5 kids, you don't know what's going to be.
Yeah, you know, candy and everything else. All right. Would you rather put 1,000 ants in your pants or 1 non-venomous snake?
Ew.
Yeah, I know. Creepy, right?
Ants.
Ants. She's gonna do the dance. My son does this thing, and he says he snaps that thing.
I know which child that is already. Yes. I don't even have to think about it.
All right. Lastly, would you rather shave your eyebrows or have hair growing out of your ears?
Ooh.
Shave my eyebrows.
Really? Wow.
Like, I always wanted to try it, but I just think I would look confusing all day.
Let's do it right now. Come live on air.
You know, get us 1 million subscribers. I'll do it.
Be careful what you wish for, Tony.
Right? Like, people want me to embarrass myself.
Well, that was actually a very rapid fire. We've had guests who've taken it was more like slow lava moving down a mountain rate.
They make me
pace.
feel. Some have made me feel really dumb that I haven't like thought the questions through. I try to make them relevant to each conversation, but like when it gets deep, it gets deep.
Yeah. But before we wrap things up here, I know we don't want to keep you all day long, but is there any kind of closing sentiments that you would like the world to know about the DD field in general? Any kind of observations, whatever you'd like, and then just kind of let people know where they can learn more about the Mahoning County Board, and we'll call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me on today. It was great. I appreciate all the discussion. And I guess I would just say about the DD field, for anybody that's thinking about joining us in any capacity, we want you here. It is a great field to work in. It's very rewarding. We do need people really badly. And it's a great career to be in. Helping people it's an amazing feeling. And when you love your job, it's not a job, you love what you do. And if anybody has questions, they can always go on to our mahoningdd.org website. And anybody's always welcome to call me. My number is 330-797-2913. And I'm always happy for people to call me. And I appreciate so much being on with you today.
Well, thank you very much. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yes.
Thank you. You too. Thanks so much. It's good meeting you in person.